coordinated and made this possible, particularly the Office of New York City Controller John Liu. There'll be people who are slated to speak with us later, and there will be some opportunity for us to have some dialogue together. This is contrary to the weather outside, the first day of spring, and as the weather gets warmer, what we now talk about becomes even more important. And so I am glad you're here. We will not belabor this anymore. I want to introduce you to our executive pastor, who happens also to have as the last half of her name, my name. It didn't happen. It actually was an event about 25 years ago we got married. Emma Jordan Simpson is executive pastor here at Concord and has spent a career as an advocate for young people in New York State as the New York State Executive Director of the Children's Defense Fund. She's going to be our moderator tonight, and so I'm going to ask her to come forward now. Before we do that, let's just take a moment in acknowledgement of the Holy. And so in this space and in this moment, we converse about the things that really matter. As we do so, we ask Holy and Divine Presence that as we talk, and as we think and share, that after this moment that we be about the work of doing justice as loving mercy and walking humbly before you. For this we ask in your name. Amen.
Well, good evening, everyone. So it falls to me to get us moving. I first want to share a couple of housekeeping notes with you all. The restrooms are on the mezzanine level. You can access them through the rear doors if you need to go to the restrooms. There are information tables in the back, and these tables are critically important for you for what we are talking about tonight. So if you did not have an opportunity to stop at one of those tables and pick up some information from the Comptroller's office, from the New York Civil Liberties Union office, then please make sure that you do that. I'm going to encourage us also to remember that there is one microphone tonight. That we are a community, we are a village, we are here to talk together, we can't talk over each other, and we are going to give those of you who are assembled in the audience tonight an opportunity to ask questions. But first, let me just give you a little bit about how we're going to proceed. We're going to have presentations from some folks who have really been thinking about this issue of stop and frisk. They've been working hard to deal with this issue, who've been organizing around this issue. We're going to ask them to make presentations. We're going to have some responses to those presentations. We're going to have one microphone in the audience, and we're going to give you an opportunity to ask your questions. And then before we close out tonight, we want to hear your stories. I know for a fact, just one of our church employees today was stopped and frisked just when he was coming back from lunch. This is the reality of our lives. We have elected officials among us, and there are those who are also running for office. It's important for them to hear your stories. So we are going to organize ourselves so that you have an opportunity to do that. You are not the only one here with a story. You are not the only one here with a question. A whole lot of folks are. And so we are going to try to make sure that we give as many people as possible the opportunity to talk. We know why we are here tonight. We're here tonight because in a given year, the New York City Police Department stops more men of color in this city than there are men of color in this city. And what those stops yielded were not what they were looking for. And we know that we are living under a system and we are dealing with policies that are race-based, that have everything to do with being poor and living in certain communities. And so we're going to discuss that in the old-time community way. Before I ask our panelists to present to you tonight, there are a couple people in the audience that I want to come up just to give you a few words. And the first is Councilwoman Darlene Neely. I'm hoping that you will come up and address this audience briefly. Thank you. Councilwoman Darlene Neely. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I know this is not a party we had. It's a real issue that we have, and it's not by chance that so many 500,000 young men have been stopped and frisked. My family have also, and I'm sorry that I cannot stay long enough to hear more. I have my own political club meeting tonight that I have to be there, but I just hope you know that I am with you, and City Council is doing marvelous things in regards to this, and I know my colleague Jamani Williams will inform you on it. But one thing, I was kind of very hesitant at first about the stop and frisk issue legislation he put in. That said, it's racial profiling, period. And I felt that it should be more with racial profiling, because why are they stopping our young men? And we can't just stop our young men because they look a certain way. So I hope that we start addressing a small issue just as well as they are stopping and giving our young men summonses in regards to, how can I say, jaywalking. Little incidents like that, they are holding our young men accountable and putting them through the whole system. So I thank you for this opportunity, and I know if you want to discuss this, you could come to my office. I have advisory board meetings every first Saturday of the month from 10 to 12, and that's when the community come in and tell me what's going on. And I thank you for this opportunity, and I'm with you 200%. And thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Councilman Jamani Williams, every time I turn around, wherever folks are fighting for justice, that's where Councilman Jamani Williams is. In my work my former work with the Children's Defense Fund, we were fighting to make sure that children were not pushed out of school. He was there on that fight. Just this past week, when East Flatbush, when young people were in the streets mourning their loss in East Flatbush, he was there, out there with them, trying to keep the neighborhood calm. He has sponsored legislation around this issue, and we'd like for Councilman Jamani Williams to come up and to talk a little bit about that.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? I want to thank the comptroller and the pastor for putting this together. As mentioned, my name is Jamani Williams, councilman from the 45th District. Here with my colleague, I think she left, Darlene Gizzi. We are my colleague, Councilman Al Van's district, so I'm glad he's allowed me a permit to be here. Of course, stop pushing risk is a very, very important issue. Even now more than ever, it's important to talk about it, because I know many people have known what's going on in my area, in my district. Thank you, Comptroller. Going on in my district, and not just my district, but actually around the city, this is going on, and people are trying to focus on the details of one particular shooting, which we should. We have to make sure justice comes to that family. We have to make sure that there is an independent investigation so we can find out what actually happened before people continue making comments without a full investigation. In addition to that, if we stay focused on that, we miss the whole thing. There is justifiable anger, not just in my community, but in communities across this city. Justified anger about what has been happening in the city for far too long. Stop, question, frisk is a huge part of that. It doesn't work, and people confuse a police officer's ability to stop someone based on reasonable suspicion is different than the current policy of stop, question, and frisk. The current policy of stop, question, and frisk has to stop. No one wants to prevent a police officer from being able to do their job. If you have reasonable suspicion, that's one thing. But in no other place is there a policy called stop, question, and frisk. Why is there one here that's based particularly on quotas and is driving a wedge? So the anger that you saw was building up far before that. Just a year before, there was Chantel Davis who was shot and killed, and she was unarmed. We saw that pattern in practice. It's about a pattern in practice of our community that has been happening for far too long, combined with the fact that you stop, question, and frisking, but not providing other resources that I think would help. So for some reason, there's a lot of money there to send as much police as humanly possible, but we don't have enough money to put programs that we think will help us reach our young people better. So in that particular area, I can go and try to get young people to make different decisions, but I can't point them to a community center because there's none over there. So we have impact zones, but we don't have any impact budget zones. We have no impact resource zones. The only resources we get are police officers. And public safety can't be based just on law enforcement. It has to be based on other things as well. So it is quite an infuriating thing that it's hard to get people to even listen to not violating the Constitution, and it's not working. So all it's doing is driving a wedge. If you look at the NYPD's own statistic, there was absolutely no correlation between how many people stopped, guns off the street, murder down, and shootings. They are wedded to a policy. This administration is pure arrogance that is wedded to a policy that does not work, and is either incidentally, accidentally racist. It's prejudice is what it is. And we have to spend so much time just to get that message across. It's something that can be fixed really quick. And things that happen, like what happened in my district, we have saying that could happen for so long. And I can't condone the violence and destructive behavior, but we shouldn't condone ignoring the anger as well, because we've been talking about the anger for quite some time. We have a package of legislation called the Community Safety Act that is making its way through the City Council. Many of you may have heard that we're making some good headway. Most of the information has been about one bill, the Inspector General bill, but there's other bills there as well. So we're not finished negotiating. It's very important to us to have something about profiling. So we're continuing to do negotiations. But now is a very important time. So I want everybody to keep the pressure on all elected officials, including myself, if we're not doing what it is that we're supposed to do. But now is a very, very critical time. So this is happening across the city. We're getting support from across the city, and I want to make sure everybody understands that we have the eyes and the ears of people who can make the difference. So I appreciate it. We have to make sure we protect our young people. They've been taking the lead to make sure their voice is heard. We want them to continue to do that. We just want to make sure we find a way to channel that anger in a way that's going to be constructive and get what it is that we need to get done. So I want to thank the Comptroller again and the pastor and everyone else for having this very important forum. Thank you.